Well, after 1 year, 9 months, 28 days, we are back. Welcome to the Far Perth podcast, powered by ID Athletic. Fantastic to be back once again, bringing you all the news, the views, everything else coming through WA football and Australian football. It's an absolute pleasure to be joined by, well, one of the OGs, Neil Sherwin. Welcome back to the pod, mate.
Yeah. It's good to be back, I suppose. Talk football.
Yeah, excellent. Donna, Giuffre, welcome back.
Thank you. Happy to be back.
It's been a long time.
It has, but happy to be back and happy the A-League's back.
No, absolutely. Not too long to go, just a few days, and very much looking forward to that. We have got a couple of new faces, new voices, which you are likely to hear for the next, few months. James Renton. You've been recruited, mate. Welcome off the bench.
Marquee signing. Delighted to be here. Thanks for having me.
No, thanks, mate. And fantastic to have you with us. We've also got Jackson Bassett is with us. Maze is with us. There, I'll paint you a little bit of a picture. They're just sitting there in the corner of the studios here and seeing how it all goes down. But it's fantastic to be able to build this team, and everyone's very enthusiastic and raring to go. Neil, are the Glory raring to go? How are you seeing things ahead of the upcoming season?
Come to me first.
I will go to you first, yeah.
I'll steal everybody's facts and figures and whatnot. No, we're up, I would say, I don't want to say cautiously optimistic. I think there's a lot of work to do. Once bitten, 10 times bitten. How many times shy after that? I just hope it's not another false dawn. So we've heard some good things. There's lots of signings, new faces, young kids, all of that stuff to be positive about. But mixed results in pre-season, I think. Some really good performances, some calamitous defending. And it'll be interesting to see how it all clicks this weekend. So for me, it's not even about the results, though. And we'll probably get into it a little bit later on. But it's more about the off-field stuff this season. As long as they avoid the spoon, I don't really care where they finish, as long as we see some positives and that they're actually building something. Because it's one thing to get a few wins, but it's another to build a club, to build a legacy, to build a future, to build something sustainable. And that's what's been missing probably for the last 10 years or so. So yeah, fresh start. Don't make a mess of it. That'd be my advice.
Just don't stuff it up. I'll get to Donna in a second because I'm going to go a different angle with Donna. But James, does it feel like there's a little bit of a fresh start, a fresh dawn, like there's a little bit of stability? Because we were reminded when we were at the, not necessarily yourself, but Anthony Radic had a bit of a spiel about how last year was just so uncertain.
Yeah.
The excuses have started to dwindle a little bit, and it's just, does it feel like it's game on now?
Well, it feels like a full reset and a clean slate for basically everyone. Obviously, with Ross Pelligra buying the club and the fact that we have an owner and the deal didn't obviously fall over like it did with John Nekic and Rob Bridge. I think obviously we've talked about the turnover of players and obviously a new coach and loads of new stuff. And I think, the last 4 years, ever since Popper left, there's been plenty of excuses, whether it be COVID or whatever. But the reality is that fundamentally we've been pretty poor. We've oscillated between 9th and 12th. If my math is correct, ever since Popper left in the A-League, we've won somewhere in the range of 24 to 26% of our total games in the A-League, and our away form has been diabolical. So I think for me, the most important thing is trying to build a level of consistency. And I think with a coach like David Zrilic, who really understands what he wants to do in terms of a football philosophy, that's only going to be positive for us, and hopefully we can see the positive signs of that moving forward during the season.
Donna, how are you seeing it? I guess your heart's not entirely with the Glory, as much as you know plenty of people involved and that love the club. But, I mean, from outside looking in, how have you seen particularly the off-field rebuild?
Yeah, look, obviously Perth's got a soft spot. I've got a soft spot for them as they're a charity partner for DT38, so they do a lot for us in that aspect. And as you said, I do know quite a few people there, from players to management. It's looking very optimistic. I loved hearing what Radic had to say today at the season launch, saying that it's about uniting everybody. And that's something that's been missing quite a bit in the past seasons. I feel like there's been a huge disconnect between the community and the club. And they've always known to be such a community-based club. And that's a Perth thing, which is something I admire. So outside looking in, it looks great. They had some really good games in the Australian Cup as well. The players seem very confident, and it's something that we haven't heard in the past. I think even last season they were still a bit iffy with the way they came across and the way they spoke about training and, you know, what's going on within the club, and everyone seems quite confident. So I'm hoping that it's a new era for them, because I say this every year, the Glory need to do well for the league because they are the oldest club in the league and we need them to do well. And without a Glory, the A-League would be kind of missing. So if there was a pro relegation in this, you know, in the league, then having Glory missing would be a huge upset for us. So I think they need to do well.
Don't get me started on promotion relegation. Donna. Passion of mine.
I know.
Neil, I wanted to talk about the kits. There's a fair bit of fanfare around the kits, and you're our kit man. So give us a spiel.
I like them. I like them both.
Like them both?
I do like them both. I think the home one's great.
I've got to admit, we saw the away one in the flesh for the first time today, and it actually looks better than someone who's left a red sock in the whitewash.
I mean,
I love it.
The collar's a bit of a concern.
I love the collar. The collar's great. It's something a bit different.
No,
you all need to be fashion conscious.
He's doing this on purpose.
No, I'm not. I like it. I like it. I love
like the
biggest.
collar?
Yeah, the biggest thing for me is it's not white again. Just had so many white away kits. They tried it. Was it the mint one a few years ago?
Yeah,
21,
Yeah,
22.
that was style.
See, it was different. It was different. Thought outside the box. I'd really like a yellow one. That'd be the dream one.
Like the gold and black. Is that what you're looking at?
Black trim on it would be quite nice.
Yep.
Yeah. But this year's pretty good offering. I think Macron have done a decent job. I actually like the last 3 home kits. We had the sort of snakeskin one 2 years ago.
Was that
last year?
The Daniel Sturridge special?
No, that was post Sturridge era. Anything prior to that is dead. Snakeskin one, we had the kind of thick stripes down it, which is a big seller. And then last year's was quite nice. I liked it without a sponsor, but other people thought differently. And then this year's one, it's simple. I like the collar matching the cuffs, the orange trim.
On the home kit.
I'll bring it up my phone. You can look. No, Blaine, here you go. Look, it's fun.
No, I do actually like it. I think
It's different.
I think this is one of the best kits that I've seen
like
in
the
a
home
long,
strip.
long
No,
time.
I like the home strip.
I'm pushing my propaganda here.
No, absolutely.
It really is. The away strip.
I just don't know about this off-white. Victory started this
Victory,
last year, and it was terrible.
I'm not opposed to the lilac. It's very, very,
But you can,
very faint.
But you can have a white kit and not be boring.
Yeah, but we've had a white kit for so long.
But we've always had white kits. You could go all the way back to 1996, and we had a black and white Powerade kit with,
the collar reminds
Ericsson
me of a
Cup
circus.
on the
doesn't hurt to be different.
on the badge.
Doesn't hurt to be different.
So you're a bit hamstrung, right? Because each club needs a light and a dark kit. So if you go to a light home one, you got to go with a dark away one, and vice versa.
Yeah.
And there's been talk about, can we get a black away kit? Well, you can't, because purple, the Glory
Deep
purple is a dark kit. So you need something light. The default is white for most people, and they go white. But we had some great comments. Lots of stuff around clowns.
That's what I think it looks like a
Ticking
circus.
the diversity boxes. What the bloody hell is that mess? Not bad, something different. I think this is the worst shirt in our history. Not just the colour, but the pattern on the trims. Now, that's a bold statement, because there's been some shockers.
I don't mind the pattern on the trim. I don't mind that at all. I'm just, as I said, just the off-white just makes it look like someone's left a sock in the wash.
Hope our squad is better than that away strip.
Ooh.
There was a wicked one on Twitter which I mentioned, and someone said it looks like a dog's collar who's going to really bother the opposition on away trips. I thought that was excellent.
And it wasn't all negative. There was some positive. I love it was there, and that summed it up. So no, I think they're good. I think the fact that they promote conversation anyway shows that you'll either love it or hate it. It's better than being completely bland and boring. And I know that this is at the start of the show because it's such a hot topic. Obviously, kits. We've got to deal with the serious business first before we get into the boring stuff. So yeah, I'm a fan of both.
It feels around the league, not only with the Glory, that this is a bit of a fresh start for the league. There's a lot of fanfare around the 20th anniversary. And the kits. And the kits. And, I mean, there's some good kits out there. I mean, Brisbane's gone with a cracker of their old Queensland Raw. And there's a few others getting around.
And then you got Sydney FC, who put no effort whatsoever.
Boring.
They don't care,
absolutely
get rid of them.
dreadful. So, as if we didn't have enough issues with them already. Just boring kits.
Yeah, almost as bad as that victory mob, which we'll get to. Let's talk a little bit about the on-field. Obviously, the story of the off-season was a story which we kind of got a fair wind of, and that was a change of coach. And midway through last season, I'm not sure that we would have been.
Where are the doubters
talking
now,
about it? I know.
Tier 1
Pay
source.
up, everybody.
Tier 1
Pay up.
source.
Yep.
I have screenshots.
Receipts in the bank. But it wasn't something this time last year. I mean, strategies had come in and everyone was like, oh, here we go. We're ready to rebuild. James, you just said, look, we were probably looking at new ownership at that stage, and then it all fell apart. And since then, they've rebuilt again. David Zrilic is now the man. And for me, he's, as much as the journey's only just begun, he's saying the right things and starting to move the club in the right direction. We've got wow signings, according to Stan Lazaridis, who was enthusiastic as ever again this morning. But this is what you need, though. I mean, you don't want to, what's he supposed to do? Saying, oh, well, we've got a couple of players and they might be able to do the job. You know what I mean? Like, you want...
He's got to build the hype around the fan and build a sense of confidence, because I think it reflects the way in which he wants us to play, which is aggressive, and he said it in his press conference after, where we want to win every game. We're going into to win every single game, and that's a welcome change from the last few years where, particularly away from home, we've essentially lost before the ball's been even kicked. There's been so many games where our approach just hasn't been positive and on the front foot, and many people complained last season in particular, despite the fact that we scored so many goals, our approach was still very negative. We parked the bus in quite a lot of games. I felt that, our defensive structures were really poor, for example. But the fact that we're going to have a style of play that's focused on, we want to be aggressive, we want to press high, we want to be a side that plays a brand of football that reflects the modern game. I don't think we can ask for any more than what we have in David, and hopefully he can implement that philosophy successfully.
Neil, what's this squad capable of?
I have absolutely no idea. I'm not even going to pretend to say otherwise until we see a few competitive games. We've had a lot of players used in pre-season. It's hard to know what the best 11 is yet. We've had some players arrive late as well, particularly the imports. How fit are they, ready to go for the first game of the season? We've had that issue in the past with key imports coming in late and then not being of much or any use until November, December, and by that stage you're already chasing positions. So I'm not sure, to be honest. I've seen quite a bit of the preseason games. I definitely haven't seen every game, but what does stand out to me probably more so than other years is the use of a lot of players, because there's actually a lot of players to use. There's depth in positions you're looking at. I don't think there's many outstanding players, but you may have 2 or 3 for each position. That as the season goes on, you pick up injuries, travel kicks in, whatever happens, you'll have someone who can just come in and won't be too big of a drop off. I think we've probably had that in the past, where your second option is nowhere near up to the caliber of your starter, and that could be the difference between nicking a few results, whether that's home or away. But I think what they've got this year is a lot of players who are not too dissimilar in quality and ability and come in and do a job. And I think from that perspective, we'll see them at a pretty even standard across the year. I don't expect their best and their worst to be a million miles apart compared to some of the other teams in the past, where you've had to chuck in a team of 8 or 9 kids, and it was just an absolute disaster and completely unfair on them. It's a good squad. I think it's from what they've built. I would like to have seen 1 or 2 more what I would consider wow signings. There hasn't been any wow signings for me anyway. I think there's good players in there, and I think that there's potential in the squad. But in terms of someone that you'd look and go, yeah, get them on the back of the jersey and the kids are going to call them a hero, you're probably looking at Adam Taggart, and that's maybe it in the squad. And of course, he's the captain, the talisman, will score a lot of goals, and there will be a drop off if anything happens to him. But the rest of the squad, it looks pretty solid overall, and I think that will stand them in good stead across the season, especially if they're all buying into the philosophy and the tactics and the approach to games. So for me, it's as I said earlier, it's not even necessarily about all the results. It's about seeing a positive shift and mindset and enjoying watching games again, because we've gone to some games and they felt like such a chore. We need to change that at least.
Donna, there's a huge WA flavour. There was last year. They've kept that.
Yep.
Whether that's through necessity or design or just the way the league's going due to, of course, the financial issues. But everyone said, when are these young WA talent's going to get their shot.
Yep.
Well, here's your shot. It's virtually put up or shut up now, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Like Neil said, I share his sentiments. We just don't know. We want to be positive, and I loved that Stan kept saying that they're relentless this year. That's the word he's using. That's what they're using at training. That's what the coach is using. Let's be relentless. Let's get in there. Let's be aggressive. Let's not just hang back. And I think that these young players, these young WA players, have something to prove. I agree that if something happens to Tags, it's, we need to make sure that there's a backup option. I think he said there's 31 players on the books for the A-League men. Is that what he said?
30, yeah.
So that's quite a deep squad. So you've got depth there. It'll be great to see how the likes of Bodner goes this season. I'm a huge fan of his. I think last year he kind of missed out a bit, and he probably was one of the better players. And I'm hoping that this year he has more of a chance. I think he's also a difference. But it's exciting to see. It's exciting to hear the players. Let's see the WA players actually step up and show up. And, this is it. This is their chance. New management, new coach, new football ops, new owner. There's nothing to lose. This is their time to shine.
Very few unknowns as far as the imports. Neil touched on it.
Yep.
I saw Lewis Kanga today. He's an absolute beast of a man.
Yep.
I think he is going to be...
He's a unit.
Yeah, I think he's going to be fantastic. Of course, Christian Caicedo, the Colombian, also comes in. And where are we? Who else did we have? Hamzaoui, the Belgian, who's come in as well. What are you making of these signings, and is it just in Stan we trust?
In some degree, yeah. There's definitely a variety in terms of caliber and age, obviously. I think Lewis Kanga will probably be the standout. When I looked at some of his vision, he's an aggressive defender. He's a scary bloke. Very dominant in the air, very physical. Doesn't mind taking a free kick. Doesn't mind taking penalties either. He will be a presence in the box, and I think that's what we need in particular. Christian Caicedo, a lot of people probably don't know much about him, but I believe he played for a club called Orsomonso, and they're in the second tier in Colombia. And if I'm not wrong, one of their players got sold to Aston Villa, who then got loaned out to a club in Spain. And there was I had a friend that did a percentile rating of Christian compared to other players of a similar age bracket in different South American competitions in Argentina or Brazil. And Christian ranked fairly highly in quite a few of those rankings. In particular, his passing, his last pass in particular. He's someone that's very small, very diminutive, but his ability to accelerate and unleash a powerful shot off his left foot, that I think will be something that the fans will like immediately. Hamzaoui is someone that, I don't think many people have seen much of Hamzaoui, but what I did see in particular that state game, he's someone that seems tactically very intelligent in terms of his counter pressing, especially in terms of his positioning. I think it's pretty solid. I'd like to see a little bit more though from his output, but I think in terms of the visa signings that we've made, I probably would have liked to have seen a fraction more experience in X factor, especially given the fact that we've got a lot of young players. And I think with the senior guys in particular, I think especially in the forward line, I think we probably could have done with maybe another recognised signing winger, in my opinion, because I don't think it's fair on Adam Taggart to be bearing the brunt of having to score all our goals. But other than that, I think the additions have been decent and they all have a point to prove.
Neil, we missed a number 10 the last couple of years. Are we missing one again? An out and out?
Well, the actual number 10 is injured, so that's a good start. Nick Miliusnic.
Yeah.
Are we going to see him this season?
But I mean, is it the fact that we haven't had that wow factor? We haven't had anyone like that since Diego Castro, and we know he was, the best of the best almost, but we haven't had anyone near
we
him.
haven't, and there is that sense of longing for a replacement because he was so good, and maybe he wouldn't fit in the same system that's being applied now, and there's all these variables. But yes, somebody that will come in and excite people and get them interested. What we got out of him was unbelievable, and you can't necessarily replicate that directly, but you can give people something to look forward to. And just on the some of the squad as well, there's some of the players in that potential middle part of the pitch. I already mentioned Miljuznic. I know he plays more wide, but Nicholas Pennington, Mustafa Amini injured, before balls even kicked, and they would be two experienced midfielders that could potentially play as eights. Amini for me is so good when he's fit, and we just haven't seen enough of it. And for him not to be available at the start of the year is a bit of a red flag. Pennington as well is someone that was brought in with good experience in the A-League, good age again, but only useful if he's actually available. So yeah, you throw that in with, to James's point, a lot of on the shoulders of Adam Taggart in the forward line, with probably a lot of kids around him doing a lot of running. Yeah, I would have liked to have seen a proper number 10 playing in the hole, getting on the ball, directing traffic. Yeah, that to me is a glaring absence, along with probably a little bit more at the back as well, because, we're probably going to leak some goals.
Donna, the question has been for the last 12 or so months surrounding the goalkeeping. Ollie Sale has come under a little bit of scrutiny. Cameron Cook, Robert Cook, I don't know what's happening to him, whether he's still being touted by the club or whether he has actually in fact gone over to Manchester United. And signed on a scholarship.
Yeah,
so
I haven't heard much,
that seems to have gone quiet. But obviously we know that Cameron Cook can do a job, so I guess it's all about just keeping Ollie Sale on his toes.
Yeah, 100%. I'm a huge fan of Cam Cook. I think he's great. He's young. Ollie Sale made a lot of mistakes last year that, you'd see goals go in and you're like, how could you not, how did you not stop that? And like Neil said, you're going to leak a lot of goals if, he's not solid enough. And I think Cam will keep him on his feet and keep him on his toes. So hopefully they'll bounce off each other. I think there's a bit of an age gap between them as well. So a bit of like a senior kind of junior mentality, keep him on his toes, fighting for that, for that number one spot. I'm, as I said, a huge fan of Cam. Nothing against Ollie Sale, but I think Cameron Cook can get the job done. So I wouldn't be too opposed to having him in the starting 11 to kick things off. But it'll be very interesting to see. There was a bit of a rumour that Mark Birighetti, he's still in Perth. There was a huge rumour going out that he was wanting to trial with the club. Whether something happens in January, I'm not sure, but he's still here. And he's not playing football for anyone. So, it'd be a huge pickup, and you'd think that he'd have that number one spot up for grabs. So,
well, it's funny you say that, because there was that tri-series games between Glory, Balcatta and Perth SC, and there was actually a Victorian goalkeeper with a very Russian name. For the life of me, I can't remember his name. Apologies for that. But
like 2 meters or something.
Yeah, it was a big boy, big boy, who has been trialing. And I'm not sure what's happened to him. Whether there was an injury or whether they've just decided not to go with him. But
I heard an injury. But
was there an injury? Yeah,
okay. Don't quote me on it.
No. It's
But the question for me is around Cam Cook, though. He's 23 years of age now. How long does he sit on the bench if it's behind Sale, or if Birighetti came in to that point? You're not going to see him on the bench. So how long at 23 years of age does Cam Cook hold off before he wants to be playing week in, week out, in terms of his development, in terms of his future prospects? So, yeah, I think it's probably a make or break year for him in terms of whether that's at Glory or he decides to move elsewhere.
But in fairness, though, couldn't you argue that Ollie in particular, or whoever played in goal last season, was always somewhat in some ways set up to fail because of the amount of shots that they were facing? Because if you compared, for example,
Sale was decent last year, shot-stopping-wise.
The number of shots on target that we were facing per game, if you compare that, let's say, to when we won the premiership in 18-19, we went from, let's say, 3 shots on target conceded in 18-19 to around about 7 or 8 last season, which is a pretty big jump.
Haven't had a positive goal difference for 5 years.
Wow.
I'm just going to we'll wrap up this section and we'll go around the table. Give me one name you're excited about seeing this season for the Glory. Neil.
The obvious one is Faisal, but I'm not going to steal that on anyone because that will probably be I'd say that'd be unanimous.
Yes.
He's just been brilliant in pre-season.
A lot of pressure on him.
18 years of age. I think he's really a really good prospect. I think Gamulka for me, which I mentioned Pennington and Amini not being there. It's an opportunity for someone to step into that midfield space, dictate the play, get on the ball. He's at a good age as well. He's no longer the teenager breaking through. He's in his 20s and should be establishing himself. And he looks like he's done it quite well in pre-season. So yeah, someone like that for me, his job now should be to ensure that when Amini and Pennington and whoever else come back, they don't get a spot. That should be his focus from the outset. So yeah, if he can do that, that's a good sign for Glory as well.
Donna?
I'm going to have to say Faisal. Sorry.
Go someone original. Come on.
He's just even hearing him today. It was quite funny hearing him talk. You can tell when they're young and they haven't had much media training, which I love. I love the
That's when
raw,
you want to get them though before they become boring and sanitized.
I love how raw he was in explaining how he's enjoying his football and how he's keen and how he wants to perform. And I just love seeing that excitement in a young player. And we haven't seen that in a very long time. So huge fan. A lot of pressure on him, but I hope he really performs and steps up.
I'll be a bit different and say Zach Leslie.
Yep. Defender.
Yeah, he's impressed me the most. One of the players that's impressed me the most in pre-season, and if I'm not wrong, he's also made the young Socceroo squad as well. I think he's someone that has the capacity to start. I think he would form a very good partnership next to someone like Lewis Kunga. I think those two would work off each other really well. I think it would be a really balanced partnership, and I think Zach is someone that could, if he continues to improve in his overall game, I definitely think he could be a mainstay in the Socceroos in the next few years. I think he's got a very high ceiling. What
we're not going to have is a short of defenders. There is plenty of central defenders in this side, whether it's Majeka Dunmi, Lachlan Barr, Kanga or Lashalowski. So, very much looking forward to seeing how that goes. I think even Luke Bodnar's played there from time to time as well. So, I'm looking forward to Caicedo. I think he could be one that could really light it up. It's a scary thought to have Taggart and Caicedo and Faisal all coming at you, from all directions.
Very direct.
Absolutely. Yeah, very much looking forward to that. We're going to take a quick break. This is the Far Post Perth podcast. I'll put my teeth back in and we'll be right back after this.
What a run! This could be the one! It's in! That's what it's all about! And when it comes to sports gear that helps you perform your best, ID Athletic has the winning formula. From grassroots clubs to elite athletes, ID Athletic provides high-quality sporting apparel, screen printing, embroidery, and made-to-order promotional products. Proud sponsors of the Far Post Perth and passionate supporters of WA community sport. Visit ID Athletic at 84 Howe Street, Osborne Park, or online at idathletic.com. ID Athletic. Build your identity.
Welcome back to the Far Post Perth, a podcast powered by ID Athletic. A big thanks to Josh and Austin and the team at ID Athletic for jumping on board this season. If your club is in need of some new kits, some new gear, some new promotional items, head down there to House Street in Osborne Park and say good day to the team. Right, crew, let's have a bit of a look at the season overall. Let's just do it in alphabetical order. I think it's probably the fairest and easiest way to do it. Adelaide United, not the season they would have wanted. However, off the pitch, some really positive results, I guess, coming from a fan point of view, I should say. Safe standing areas. I absolutely love what they're doing with Hindmarsh Stadium. I reckon it's probably one of the best
stadiums in football.
Boutique stadiums, in football. Great things happening off the pitch. On it, probably the most bizarre thing I've ever heard of is a transfer from Melbourne Victory to Adelaide United, where Melbourne Victory, Neil, will pay Ben Falami's 60% of his wage. How charitable of them.
Yeah.
Isn't it a long
We're
contract
just
as well?
very nice people.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what it was. Had nothing to do with being close to cooking the books at all.
Next time they tell you it's an original rivalry.
Yeah.
The rivalry's dead in the water, isn't it? With that sort of thing. Adelaide, I'm not really sold on them. They should have lost to Kingsway here in the Australia Cup. They limped over the line in that game. I know that's effectively pre-season, but they weren't great. There's this interesting partnership that they've got with the Dutch now and can bring players in. So what that looks like down the track.
Is it PSV?
PSV.
Yeah.
So they brought in Bart Vrens, who's an experienced defender and has a lot probably to offer both as a player and as a mentor. Xavi Lopez is still running around as well at about 45, and I say that as someone who's older than him. But it's not a great squad. I think Ibisuki is a loss. I think is a focal point and a target man. I rate him really highly for what he's done in the league since he's been here, and he'll be an asset for Western United. But Adelaide, I think, are going to struggle in the bottom 3 to 4 teams this year.
Guys, thoughts on Adelaide, James?
I agree. I think losing someone like Ibisuki was a big concern for them, and I think the fact that they haven't really made too many improvements with their backline, and the fact, look, they've brought in LC and Bart Friends, but Friends hasn't played yet, and look, I think people are a little bit split on whether LC is above a mid or good tier centre back. So I think they'll leak too many goals, and I think despite the fact that there's some good young talents coming through, I can't say they're making the finals.
Well, they're a little bit of a victim of their own success because they have sent all these young guys away overseas very, very early.
Yeah,
so
the big fees.
Well, why wouldn't you? Donna, let's move on and have a bit of a look at Auckland. The new kids on the block. Steve Corica moves over there. Jake Brimmer moves over there. A few other signings. Japanese imports signed over the last week or so. Unknown, but I guess it's exciting having a new team in the competition.
Yeah, I'm all for it. I'm all for a new team. I don't like that it's odd numbers in the league, but I love that there's a new team, and it's been a long time coming. Whether it's Auckland and hopefully Canberra is coming in soon, but I'm excited for them. I think Jake Brimmer got named vice captain for them, which is amazing. I'm a huge fan of Brimmer. I hope he has a really good season over there. He was a bit injury. Let me put my teeth back in. Injury prone at Victory, so I hope he has a good season. But yeah, unknown. I'm excited for them. I hope they do well, and I think the league needs them to do well. We don't want another folding team early on.
But in terms of Auckland, I think the big thing for them is Bill Foley's ownership. I think you've got a shrewd businessman who's proven himself with establishing franchises. He's done it in the NHL with the Vegas Golden Knights, who did very well in their first few seasons in terms of winning Stanley Cup and just being an established force. Now, obviously, it's pretty easy to do that when you go to Vegas, but he's done well at Bournemouth, and now he's putting himself into this. And you've also got some other big name investors in this Auckland project, I suppose. It's probably what it is, and I think it will last. And I think this is something that's good for the league. The more teams, the better. I've wanted more teams for years. Get it up to 18 as soon as we can. Get an even fixture, 17 home, 17 away. Get players playing longer seasons and as much football as possible. And bringing in somebody like Bill Foley, who's got money and is proven in sports, is really good for the league. And it's the new distance derby, right?
It is the new distance derby, but I think can we get rid of that Kiwi Classico? Can we just be in that?
That was
I'm not having
shocker.
That.
Yeah, definitely. Kiwi.
Who named it that?
The league.
The league.
Yeah, it's just manufactured marketing crap.
Yucky.
It's absolutely nonsense. It's almost as bad as the Big Blue. Almost as bad as the Big Blue.
Almost as bad as the Big Blue.
I think they'll establish themselves quite well this year, and I think they'll play finals for sure.
Just back on the derby, it is a tasty derby though, isn't it? North Island's two big cities.
Yep.
It builds nicely, James.
100%. And I'm sure Wellington will be wanting to perform as well as they can. They've got the new boys coming in Auckland, and be very keen to see how that first derby goes.
Brisbane Roar, interesting one. I think that probably their pickup is that Rafael Strauch, who Dutch-born Indonesian player, has about 15 gazillion people on his Instagram. I think it's more about the marketing than it is about his performance on the pitch. But guys, Brisbane this year,
Bottom four. I can't see them. It's a similar story to Adelaide. I think they've signed some decent players. I like the look of their South American winger that they brought in. I think he's from Ecuador. But again, I think defensively there's some real question marks, and I also look at their attack and I go, who's going to get 10 to 15 goals for you guys? Is it Waddingham or is it Ben Halloran? I think it remains to be seen for me.
Jay O'Shea remains. He's probably their best player at the moment, but hell of a loss is Tom Aldred. I think he was a top defender, and I would have had him out west at any chance. But Neil, thoughts on Brisbane?
Best thing about them will be their kids.
Yeah.
I think they'll finish bottom two.
There you go. Oof. All right. You guys have got fairly high hopes on Central Coast. I don't think that they can pull it off again. Give me a reason why they can, James.
They just find a way. every time, I've said this on previous platforms, but they're a team that's fried me in the sense that they can sign some obscure players and you might think on face value, well, they're crap or they're not going to get them to, the finals, let alone top 4 or top 2. But I think defensively, that's where they're going to win it for me, or will have a somewhat decent season. When you look at their back four, Moragas, Sainsbury, Kaltak, Storm Roux, I think it's probably one of the best back fours in the league. But that, for me, is their only major saving grace at this point in time.
Donna, thoughts, Central Coast?
I've tipped them to finish in the top 2. There's something about them that they just get the job done, right? They have little money. They're smaller considered
the little club that thinks they can.
But, they just prove everybody wrong. I'm a huge fan of them.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I've got nothing against them, but I can't see them pulling it out again.
I mean, I hated that they won last year, or last season. But, I've got them finishing in the top 2. For some reason, I just feel like they're going to be up there again. And they just pull it out of the bag. They just happen to get results and they go their way. And I think everyone's just always happy for them.
Neil?
My head says that they will plummet. My heart says get them out because this little club that could nonsense is just worn thin now. I can only live off that for so long. So I'm sorry, it's done. I'm over the sentiment. That part's gone. Realistically, they bit me last year because I thought they were going to be rubbish and they finished at the top. So I've kind of landed somewhere in the middle and said they'd finish 6th and scraped the finals. So at least if they have a really bad season, I can say they dropped off, just not far enough. And if they win it, I can say, well, I didn't drop you out of the finals at least. So a very diplomatic approach to the Mariners this year. And then if they're a disaster, I'll tip them for spoon next year.
There you go. Macarthur FC obviously taking out the Australia Cup in 2024. Some big ins. Luke Bratton, of course, with his call up to the Socceroos. He's back in the mix there. An interesting one here, Marin Yakulis. I think he's going to be tops. And when you get him alongside someone like a Valeria Germain, I think that's a really, really potent kind of...
It's an experienced squad.
Yep.
And I think they won't play the best football the league's ever seen, but I think they'll grind out results. And I think, if anything, their experienced players and established players like Germain or Bratton will get them over the line to make the finals.
Chris Economides, is this his last chance at professional football? Donna, I mean, we loved him when he was here and he was part of that Popovic side that won the league. Unfortunately, got injured, went through... down to Melbourne and just hasn't quite reached the same heights as what we thought that he would.
No, 100%. I think this is his last ditch at playing at top tier football. I hope he has a good season. He deserves it. He really, really wants it. He was not the best at victory. He had a couple of good games and pulled it. I'd say something and then he'd go score a goal, which happened to always be the case. But this is his, I reckon his last season of either go all in and hopefully stay injury free. I think that's his biggest thing. Let's stay injury free. Let's get him through at least half the season injury free and then go from there. But I've tipped Macarthur to finish in the bottom 2, so I don't have too much
big
faith.
Goal.
Sorry, pals.
Whew. Neil, let's have a look at one other guy just quickly for Macarthur. It was another odd signing, Harrison Sawyer. The way all that went down with South Melbourne, obviously, he was cup-tied from his new club and couldn't play for either of them.
One of these interesting dynamics between the NPL and the A-leagues and the balance of fairness when those teams are thrown into the same competition. So, I don't really have much to add on the rate. That's all, isn't it? No. But I'd rather talk about Philip Curto because I think he's one of the best goalkeepers the league has seen.
Yep.
And I think that he's going to have a big say in where they finish. I think they'll finish in the top 4 just because they'll be solid and unspectacular. May run into problems in January if they can't buy players. That could be an issue there if they haven't paid Dwight by then. And the only other thing at Macarthur is bet the overs on yellows in every game.
There you go. All right. Brought to you by Neil365.
They've got a history.
There you go.
Melbourne, forgot about that.
Melbourne City. I want to have a quick look at Melbourne City, James. Which way do they go? Last year was poor by their standards. Are they on the slide or do they bounce?
They're on the slide for me.
Yep.
I think there's been quite a fair amount of fans across the league that have been a little bit surprised that City didn't go big in the transfer window when some of your other clubs like Sydney FC, West Sydney Wanderers, Melbourne Victory all made some pretty decent signings, including Auckland as well. I don't particularly rate Aurelio Vidmar as a coach. I don't think he's going to be able to achieve the same level of success that Patrick Isnorbo or Eric Monbert did. I think they're lacking a recognised striker. Replacing McLaren is always going to be a tough challenge because he's, I think, the league's best striker in terms of goals scored. Their midfield is not too bad. I've question marks about some of their more senior guys that they've got in. I mean, when you've got someone like Bajic who's getting on at left back, I don't think they make the finals for me.
Thoughts on City?
I have none.
Of course you don't. a club who you have plenty of thoughts on, and that's why we're putting the camera on you, Donna, is Melbourne Victory, a.k.a. Can we call them Dad's Army? They're a really old squad, aren't they?
That's more Adelaide.
I think
That's
are.
more Adelaide. They're more Dad's Army for me.
Yeah.
Like Isaias and Javi Lopez. As
Seriously,
your two centre
I think
backs.
Yeah, I know, but if you have a look at
before I was born.
if you have a look at Victory, they're all guys that have been around a very, very long time. There's not much youth in that side.
But two of their best players.
Valupale is probably their best young player.
But Valadon and Teague and Valupale were probably, and Arzani were probably some of their best players last season. They're all young guys.
Yeah,
In fairness.
Thank you.
I think they're.
Thank you.
I don't know. I
Is this
just
the Victory pod?
Yeah, it must be.
This is the positive energy we need.
Neil?
However, yeah, no.
Well, you didn't ask me on City, but I think City and Victory will be outside finals this year. I think both of them will miss. I hope they both miss. And if one was to, I'd want City to finish way ahead of Victory. But I think Mashash is a big player for them.
Yep.
He makes them tick. He's a great player to watch, and he's probably the sort of player when we spoke about Glory having a number 10, and a bit of an excitement machine. If you threw into Glory's squad at the moment with what they've got, that's the sort of player I think that they're missing, and I'd like to see. So he's been really good for the league, really good for Victory. But yeah, I think they're going to have a rough time of it, coach wise, because Norbo and the fans.
Yeah, I think they will.
Yeah, that to me is going to be a big.
And there's already whispers of what's happening with Daniel Arzani and where that goes.
Yeah. I think the knives will be out pretty early. He won't get as long a leash as somebody who wasn't associated with City. And likewise, when Victory and City, the four lads down the front will probably be abusing them as well.
I don't know where to go with that. Newcastle Jets. Let's have a look at Newcastle. Similar situation to Glory, I guess. New owners coming in, rebuild, probably not as far along in their stage, but
Spoon.
I don't think they're going to do well. But I mean, there is a lot of mitigating circumstances behind where they've come from.
Yeah, but you look at their squad, and I don't know what level of finance is available with the Newcastle owners. But I think if I was a Newcastle fan, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more investment into the squad if it was possible.
Yeah.
Because right now that squad does not inspire me in the sense of them getting out of the bottom four.
And they're boring to watch.
Yeah.
Oh, they are. But
it's
as I
sad.
said,
it is sad, but it's boring.
Yeah, but because there hasn't been any money in there. There hasn't been any money there.
Yeah.
And obviously
that's a them problem.
That sounds like that's a Newcastle problem.
But it's just not an inspiring squad. They got one visa signing.
Yep.
Well, it sounds like, when you just play those old managers, like Sensible Soccer, and you didn't have the licenses for players' names. It just sounds like somebody where you didn't.
What's his name?
Wellersol.
Oh,
it sounds like you didn't have a license for a real name, so you just chucked in. That's what you were given instead. But otherwise, it's really just there's nothing inspiring in there. No, and they've even lost some of their best young players as well. So grim.
Well, obviously, we've already talked about Perth. Donna, where did everyone have Perth finish?
okay.
Just quickly.
We got James Perth 6th, myself 9th, Neil 10th.
Boo.
Neil's just done this, by the way, because then if they finish higher, he'll feel really good about it.
No, if I was doing that, I would have put them to Spoon again.
Macy has them on 10th as well. And then Jackson has them 4th. He's the most.
That's why he's in the corner.
Yep. That's why he's over in the corner. And Blayne, you didn't put numbers next to yours, so now I have to count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
7th.
7th. You've got him on 7th.
Yeah, I reckon they're about 7th, 8th. Yep.
But I think we
Jackson's the
spoke
only
about
one
this a
very
little bit the other day, that, you throw a blanket over the teams between, say, 4th and 11th.
Yep.
They'll probably be quite interchangeable as the season moves. You win a game, you'll jump 3 or 4 positions. It'll be that type of season between those teams. So Glory could finish 5th. I could be completely
Trust
wrong.
Driller. Trust David. I think
In Driller we trust.
In Driller we trust.
Sydney FC guys, obviously they had a pretty good cup, obviously making the semi-finals, didn't they? But many people are picking them to do well. They've had a pretty good ACL2 so far and not doing too bad.
They'll win the toilet seat for me.
Yep.
I think when you look at the
league and the toilet seat.
Yeah, I think they win both. Yeah,
Yep.
when you look at their squad, look, I wouldn't mind checking the books. I think they've got a very stacked. They've got a very stacked squad. Well, when you look at their front four, right, and you look at their Polish striker is a little bit questionable, but you've got the likes of Costa, you've got Joe Lolly, you've got Anas Oynhim as their number 10, and you've got some relatively decent midfield and back four as well. And Ufuk Talay, in my opinion, is a pretty decent coach. It'll be an absolute disaster for them to not finish top 2 and to come away from this season with a piece of silverware.
Yeah, I think this is one of, if not the best squad
Easily.
that'll go into the season. Donna, thoughts?
Same. I've got him in the top 4.
Yeah, winning it. I think bringing in Alexander Popovic is a nice little shrewd signing on loan as well, a young defender that can definitely contribute from day one. But the Douglas Costa signing is a lot of fun. It's one of these that you're kind of glad it's not your club in case it goes disastrously. But I'm kind of keen to watch him.
Are you thinking Sturridge areas?
I don't want to name names, but
are you thinking Mario Jardel areas?
just Sturridge is recent enough. We've had a few over the years, haven't we? So no, I think Douglas Costa.
William Gallas areas.
Oh god,
I forgot
the air swing himself.
Yeah.
I think Douglas Costa, though, this is the caveat with all these: if he's fit and if he's interested and if he's bothered and if it's not beneath him and all of this fun stuff. But ability wise, he's one of the best players that's ever been signed in the league. Like he can just have fun, and it'd be good to watch him have fun. So definitely a player that I would go watch in the flesh. So yeah, I think it's a potentially good pickup for them, and they're just a good squad.
I think Klimala is almost a more important player in a way.
Tipped him for the Golden Boot.
Yeah,
watch him score one and then scuttle off back to Europe in January.
No, I think he's going to be a really important player for them.
I just think he's going to have people to feed him, and that's going to be part of the battle as well for a lot of the teams who you get your supply from. I'll say that, but Adam Taggart won the Golden Boot, finishing bottom last year, so it's not beyond all realms of possibility to do it from a difficult position. But I just think he's set up for success with this squad, and that's going to be important.
Wellington Phoenix, guys, a lot of hype around them since Italiano took them over. Really interesting how they build. Another thing is really interesting is how they react to the cousins up the road in Auckland. How do you see it going, James?
I rate Italiano as a coach. I think tactically he's got some very interesting ideas. But I think similar in a sense to the Mariners, doesn't matter how good your coach is, if you're losing some of your best players overseas, or just in general, like Bojidar Krover's a big loss, Oscar Zavada's a big loss, Ben Old, Finn Sermon, I believe, Alex Paulson, that's going to be a big kick in the guts, the fact that he's playing up the road at Auckland. I think they tank. I think they got away with it last year. They were conceding a similar number of shots to what we did, but they just had Paulson who was playing on God mode and was saving everything, and they were blocking shots left, right and centre. So I think there's going to be a point where defensive vulnerabilities will catch up to them, in my opinion.
They haven't topped up on what they lost.
No.
That's the concern for me. Marco Rojas, he's still there, isn't he?
He came from Brisbane to there. He just signed.
Went back to him.
Yep.
And Steph Kolakowski, everyone's made out of here.
Yay.
We were a little bit disappointed that he didn't stick around, but it is what it is.
Did say he was gone overseas.
Well, yeah, that was
and there he is.
Well, he is.
True.
Ta-da.
Interesting that he did end up at the Wellington Phoenix, guys. Where do they finish? Top half, bottom half, mid table? What are we looking at?
Shit, I've had him fitting. Oh, sorry, I said. No, I've got him fitting first.
What?
I really like them.
Really?
Based on what?
Their brand of football. I'm hoping Italiano does something well with them. Look, come back to me at the end of the season.
Who's getting their goals?
Do you know something we don't?
No. Why does everyone think that?
Neil, where do they finish?
I have them still making finals. I just looked at the teams below them, and they will drop off. I don't think they'll be able to sustain it, but I think home form will be good. They've got a good coach, as already mentioned, and yeah, they will drop off, but I think they'll have enough to sustain a push. But it's one of these teams that could finish 5th or 10th. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if they did. So try that disclaimer in there.
Western Sydney Wanderers, guys. I have got these guys finally winning a grand final. I think Stage is going to do them wonders. I think they're going to be really, really well supported. I think Mata will get the crowds back in, at least initially, and I think a few positive results could really stir up the momentum and get them up and away. I think Bozhidov Kraev coming in is going to be a pretty good pickup. That young Ben Holiday, in fact, who scored against the Glory for Moreton Bay, is heading over there as well. So, I think this is going to be a good side this year, and I've got them going all the way.
Yeah, they've got one of the best front fours in the league, similar to Sydney FC. When you look at it, they've got Borello, Milanovic, Mata, and Kraev. That's a very scary front four. I love Staj, but I have some questions about his flexibility as a coach from a tactical perspective. I think the way in which he plays, if your team, he leaves a lot of space in the midfield, and I think, I could see, for example, Mata trying to create the play, but if Western Sydney's midfielders and defenders are not positioned well, like Glory's players were last season at times, I think they could get ran through, but I think they've got so much quality in a number of areas that I think it'll be a surprise for them not to finish in at least the top 4.
Thoughts, Neil?
I rate them. I have them finishing second. I think the Mata signing is again maybe blinkers on, but it's potential to be brilliant. Just a great player, great pedigree. Yes, he hasn't played for a long time, which is always a concern. But they're the sort of players we're going to get. You're not going to get the cream of the crop, and the fact that he's here and seems to be buying into it, it's going to be good to watch. The other player that wasn't mentioned was Marcus Antonsen, and I think he's a player who only scored 4 or 5 goals last season. He's got the ability to score more, and again, it comes down to supply. He's a finisher. I think he missed a penalty in one game as well last year, and he didn't have the best of times. But if he's getting service and he's got good players buzzing around him, I would expect him to potentially go close to double figures, and he wouldn't be the only one. So if you've got 3 or 4 players getting close to double figures, you're going to do pretty well. The question mark really for me is a little bit around the Mata role. What sort of position he plays. Who does his running for him? Because you've still got Josh Briante in there as well, who's not any spring chicken now. You're going to need some legs around these guys as well, because it's one thing to go forward, but going the other way and covering the ground and box to box and the hard yards and all of that stuff, that the unseen stuff, that's where they could potentially get caught out a little bit for me. So yeah, if they can balance the team and not carry Mata, but let him have a free role and play the attacking and the creative side of things, they're set up for success again. Really strong squad overall.
Last one, guys, quickly. Western United. I've got these guys pretty lowly, and I just don't think that they'll be on the shoulders of Hiroshi Ibasuki, I think, and I don't think if he doesn't get the delivery, then
I'll be brief. Bottom 3.
Yeah,
same.
Bit more optimistic. I said 9th, but I think that's because there's worse teams. There's 3 to 4 worse teams. So not because they're good, but because I think that there's worse sides than them. So they've got some good players. Ibasuki, Garucio's still a good player. That at that level. But yeah, overall, not a great squad, but not the worst. It's the nicest thing I could say about them.
Neil, we did ask for some season predictions from our social media.
Yeah. Facebook. Got some comments there from people to your little shout out this afternoon. Sydney for Premiers and Glory 6th. Premiers and champions will be the reigning defending NSL champions Perth Glory.
Take that.
Stefan Giuffre, a man of questionable taste. Auckland versus Sydney Grand Final. Auckland Premiers, Glory 6th, Wellington and Mariners to not make finals. All NZ Grand Final. Ollie Sale to keep the most clean sheets. That got laugh reacts only. Glory to finish in the top 4 and Sydney FC to not make finals. Big shout there. And then Matt Olsen, Crystal Ball. He did a little emoji and everything. That's very creative of him. That's cute. Faisal wins to Johnny Warren in his debut season.
That's not a bad shout.
Yeah.
Chuck a five on it.
Perth glory to dethrone Manchester City. Manchester City is the most valuable club on earth after going 26-0-0 and 22-0-0 for the season across both leagues.
We did ask for nonsense predictions. That's taken the cake.
Some good drugs.
Yeah.
But that's all.
Very good. It's very good. Thank you for everyone for jumping in and having a bit of fun with us. We're going to take a quick break and we'll come back on the other side. We'll have a bit of a look at round one, just days away here on the Far Post Perth podcast.
What a run! This could be the one! It's in! That's what it's all about! And when it comes to sports gear that helps you perform your best, ID Athletic has the winning formula. From grassroots clubs to elite athletes, ID Athletic provides high-quality sporting apparel, screen printing, embroidery, and made-to-order promotional products. Proud sponsors of the Far Post Perth and passionate supporters of WA community sport. Visit ID Athletic at 84 Howe Street, Osborne Park, or online at idathletic.com. ID Athletic. Build your identity.
Final part of the Far Post Perth podcast. Blayne Treadgold, James Renton, Donna, Giuffre and Neil Sherwin with you, just about set to wrap things up for this edition. Don't forget to grab this podcast wherever you get all good podcasts, Spotify, Apple, and coming soon to YouTube Music. Very much looking forward to having all your interaction on all of the channels across Facebook, Twitter and Instagram as well. Round one, guys. Interesting start. Replay, grand final replay, I guess, is a little bit traditional. Central Coast against a Melbourne Victory up at Gosford. We'll quickly go around and get some thoughts and maybe some tips, James.
Victory 2-1.
Oof.
I just think that they'll start sharper. They'll be keen to rectify what was a pretty average Australian Cup final against Macarthur, and I think they'll do it.
Donna?
A draw for me.
You got a draw up there.
I am, yep.
I think Victory will win, but I want the Mariners to win because of the narrative it'll create in round one. It'd be tasty.
That'll be out for him.
It'd be tasty if Snorbo got off to a bad start. So bring it on.
And it'd be in line with my prediction. So
no, I think Victory will get a result, but I would like the Mariners to win 2 or 3-0. Be great.
Fantastic, and I think all eyes will be on Auckland's first game of Saturday, and what I'm really looking forward to is these triple headers on a Saturday, 2 games on a Saturday afternoon, and I understand there is even going to be a bit of a football show in between, so similar back to the old Fox
Sports.
Well, Fox Sports days. What was it called? Super Saturdays or something like that?
Super Saturday.
All the way into Premier League. It was awesome. Thoughts, guys? Auckland, do they get off to a start at home?
Yes.
Comfortable.
Yeah. All right. There we go. We'll move on to the next one then. Newcastle hosting Melbourne City, the second game on a Saturday.
City for me.
City will be a boring game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I probably won't watch it.
Neither will I. Not going to lie. I'll just wait for
full of enthusiasm.
We've got mini matches for a reason. No, I just think it'd be drab.
Legit.
Yeah, City just. What's that phrase? 2 bald men fighting over a comb.
Yeah,
something like that. No, I don't. I don't feel very enthused by that one at all. Especially you look at the games either side, right? You've got the whole buzz around Auckland, being first game, hosting, should be a good crowd at that. You go into the lull that is a game at McDonald's Stadium, Newcastle, and 50
small
people
crowd,
and then we hype up for the.
And then we try to boost ourselves back up,
for the Sydney Derby, which is going to be epic. I'll argue this, and I'll die on this hill. I think that this is the best rivalry in Australian sport.
Carlton Richmond,
mate. Of course it's not. It wouldn't even, but it's No, I honest to God, I don't think you get a better rivalry. East v West, rich v poor, working class v,
the atmosphere is unparalleled.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It is. I went to one, not last season before, Sydney FC home game, and it was great.
Yep.
The only wish is that the stadium was full every time, because it's still great when there's 25,000 people there, but 45,000 there at every single game is to your point, would be. So I think it on paper it is. In practice, we've a bit of way to go to make it that absolute must get a ticket, and it comes down to supply and demand a little bit as well, and all of that. And you don't want to reduce the size of the venues you play for those games, but if you had the people locked out and couldn't get tickets, all of a sudden it increases the interest and the atmosphere and the buzz around it. So no, it is a great fixture. It's the one with the biggest potential, I suppose, is probably the way to look at it for me, that there's still a way to go. And a lot of that is down to well-documented mismanagement around spectators and active support and all of that. And if we manage that well, and I've been saying that for about 10 years, this is the flagship game. This is where you get your great footage. This is where you send your vision around the world. It is the fixture for that, absolutely.
Yep, no, love it. I think if there's as a neutral, if there's a game that you're going to watch, it's going to be the Sydney Derby. Very much looking forward to that on Saturday night. Wellington against Western United, the hangover game on a Sunday.
Draw.
Draw.
I think Wellington will do it at home.
I don't really care. I don't care who wins. Good game Sunday morning would be nice, but I'll just say draw because I don't have a preference either way. No.
All right, let's have a bit of a look. MacArthur hosting Perth Glory, last game of the fixture on Sunday afternoon.
I reckon we'll play brilliant, but we'll lose 2-1.
So just usual Glory.
Standard procedure for away games.
Let's go all out.
MacArthur.
Yep.
Second bottom, MacArthur.
Yeah. Glory.
Getting off to a winning start. I think MacArthur will win because I think they're just a good efficient side, and Glory will be a little bit naive in the first game. Maybe get a little bit too gung ho, get a bit too excited. I think they'll score goals. Yeah. But ultimately MacArthur are a good, well drilled side coming off a cup win as well. They got their tails up with every reason to. So. Yeah, I think it's a tough fixture for Glory, first up, definitely. Yeah, no, it is. And, I'm going to go a little bit kind of glass half full. I'm going to think maybe we can pinch a point, maybe. If we could. Yeah. Yeah, we'll take that. Guys, any final thoughts before we wrap things up? I think we've got through just about everything, and my phone's about to die. Just no week one controversies around the league. Obviously in games would be great, but nobody do anything silly. It's the first week. At least let us enjoy that before you do something silly, and
just get to round 2 at least.
Let's enjoy the first. Is there a buzz? I feel like there's a bit of a buzz ahead of this year. We haven't had it a fair bit. I do think the promo that they shot with Ellie that's a gun. is great. I mean, that's the sort of thing that will get people hyped, and again, to the point of sending footage around the world, utilising people like that. Good content creators know the game inside out, has a really well-deserved reputation for content, utilising people like that, and that's what you got to tap into it and make people look like it's an event, not just a game of football with a man and his dog watching on the sideline. It needs to be seen as a day out for the kids. It needs to be seen as a rivalry where you go and you hate the opposition team, and getting people into that culture. And to me, that was a really positive step. We've got this 20th anniversary thing, sort of. It's kind of half baked, I think, really, how they're selling it. It's fine. Does anyone really care that it's the 20th anniversary? No. Well, Glory fans don't, because they've been around longer. Right, anyway, exactly. And that's the thing. It's 20th anniversary of the A-League, but not of football as we know it. It's the extension of what we already had. So I get why they're doing it, but if you're going to do it, a bit more life to the promos, like that video. To me, that was really good. It sold everything really well. Although I'm pretty sure every moment of Glory supporters was surrounded with misery. Yeah, the video smells of the blood now. Travis Dodd. Yeah, is that Brisbane Grand Final as well? Yeah, we're going to find that bloke that's in absolute tears after the Grand Final. We're going to find him, give him a hug. Yeah. Well, we were there. I think it was. It wasn't just. Well, Brisbane 2012 was still cuts deep. Still hurts. Fresh as a cheek. Exciting. Good trip though. Great away trip for you all. Guys, we'll wrap things up. Big thank you to you, Neil Sherwin, Donna Giuffre and James Renton. Not too sure who we're going to have next week, but it's a little bit of a bit of a mixed bag, and we're very much looking forward to bringing you plenty of coverage throughout the 2024-2025 A-League season. Big thank you once again to ID Athletic. Don't forget to follow us all over the socials, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I think we're even on LinkedIn these days. It's all happening, so there's plenty of ways to get in touch. Send us a message, do whatever you need to do to keep up. And don't forget, you can grab the podcast, Spotify, Apple, and coming soon to YouTube Music. And we'll catch you next time on the Far Post Perth podcast.